Yay. So we're coming live here to talk about yesterday's game. I did a short video earlier before going to work. And yeah, I just wanted to speak about the Carabao Cup, Arsenal 2, Brighton nil. It's a very surprising front four, but I'm not surprised that Arteta went as big as he did with the changes. I think I think it was necessary. Um, there's a lot of talk of Arsenal depth, and you know, it's not based in lies that people speak of the depth of Arsenal. But I think what's been understated though is the rate at which Arsenal players are getting injured. I did a short video recently speaking about that, like why are Arsenal players getting hurt so much? It's becoming it's becoming worrisome. Like, it's a very deep squad, and that's why we've been able to absorb that level of disruption. But there's been a great deal of disruption, especially in the front positions. I know people want to see fluent football, but I think it's going to take some time, and I think we're going to need to field the same front three with enough repetition to start seeing better fluency. And I do think the opponents have something to do with the fact that Arsenal plays a bit, I don't know, slow, and looks like they're playing with the handbrake on. But I don't think it's only Arsenal's. I don't think Arsenal's playing style is just because Arsenal want to play cautious football due to Arteta's instructions. I think a couple of things are happening. Teams are setting up in a very cautious manner against Arsenal. And then secondly, they've just had injuries in the front positions right through. Almost every Premier League game has come up with injuries in the front positions and in other positions. And I do think it you can't win the league playing like that. Not because of the way you're playing, sorry. You can't win the league with that level of injury for misfortune. And I think yesterday was a good opportunity for Arteta to not use his front line players, because Gyökeres is the only striker fit. Saka is coming back from an injury and he's been overused for 3, 4 years, depending on how far back you want to go. And he, tore his hamstring December of last year. We missed him for 4 months. And then he did the other hamstring earlier on this season, second game of the season, I think, Leeds. So he got to come on like with about 20 minutes or so to go or something like that for Max Dowman. Martinelli's out. So I was happy to see Arteta go with 10 changes. And the changes made sense everywhere except maybe at striker. But even that one makes sense. But it's just like no one would have named that kid in there. If you're doing a predicted 11 before this game, you're not predicting Andre Harman Anus to start as the number 9. I would have seen I saw people actually um, predict, maybe Trossard playing there and doing a split role or sharing a role of the number 9 position with Merino, or Merino playing there, Ethan playing as a false 9. I heard everything but Andre Hermananus, and fair play to him. He did look like he was 17 years old, because he is 17 years old. But at the same time, I think he also gave himself, he did his chances no harm, to get a couple more bench opportunities for the first team squad as the season goes on. He's 17 years old. He and his family would have had quite the night, especially he had a role in the second goal. He would have probably wanted to score the goal himself, but he does a really good run and he shoots straight at the goalkeeper, Saka. picks up the rebound and puts it away for the second goal. So it was a good game for him, good game, good run out for Ethan, good run out for Max Dowman, who played on the right with Eze on the left. So that was the front four. Harman Anus, teenager, Max Dowman, 15 years old, teenager, Ethan, 18 years old, teenager, and then a 27-year-old Eze. That was the front four players. I think it was a 4-2-3-1 kind of thing. And then with the uncles playing behind them in the double pivot, which was um, Marino. I'm blanking here. Marino and Christian Nogard, and they were good. They were not. They are not sexy. Players like Yosubi Mendy or even Odegaard, but they were solid. They were calm. They both led the young people around them very well. They both seniors, senior pros for their previous clubs as well as national teams, and so it's useful to have players like that. Um, Marino had some nice little plays. He's a low touch player, even in a game where you have teenagers around him. He had like 40 something touches. Eze, another low touch player. So I think there's definitely room for Eze to play in the game with Odegaard, because he, even when he plays in the middle of the pitch, he doesn't touch the ball a lot. He's low touch, high impact kind of, you know, and he does a lot of his damage in the final third. Yesterday, you could not have told that he was playing. He was the most senior player in that front line. He played well in bursts, but he's not the player I think a lot of people thought Arsenal were buying. In that, he's not a metronomic player, but he is a good player. He's a very important player for Arsenal, and we're lucky we have him, because Odegaard's injury fortunes this year have been horrible. And the same thing is true for Gyökeres, who didn't play yesterday. I'm happy we have him, because without Havertz and Gabriel Jesus never being available ever, you can't rely on having just one player in Havertz. And Havertz is a very reliable player, like historically. And now his health is given in too, because these are human beings and they're being run into the ground all the time. So the back line positions were filled with experience, starting with the 2-6s or the double pivot, and then you had Kepa in goal, and then a back line of Ben White at right back, Piero Nkapie, and Christian Mosquera. And them two, they're young. Mosquera is 21, Nkapie is 23, but they have a lot of experience. Nkapie is a league winner in Germany. He played in a very dominant Bayer Leverkusen team. And Mosquera, like, he's experienced in men's football. He just played for a team that wasn't too great in Valencia, but he is a really gifted young center back. And we're lucky to have all these players, because you can rest Gabriel and you can lose Saliba and play one of Mosquera or Nkapie, and you won't miss a beat. Because Nkapie has played, I've seen him play for Ecuador, play at right back. So if he can play at right back, he can play right center back, even though he's left footed. And Arteta does love to have players to be, on their strong foot in the back positions. And then he likes to do the inverted thing in the front positions. He doesn't do a lot of inverted foot business in the back positions. Very few times he'll do it. I've seen him do it with Timber. I've seen him do it with Tomiyasu, but Tomiyasu was very two-footed. And maybe very few times Calafiore playing at right back last year. So, you get to rest all your 10 of your starting 11 against Crystal Palace at the weekend got to sit on the bench or stay at home. Declan Rice, Timber, they're playing a lot of minutes, these boys. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, it's just 9 games in. But their Premier League is a very intense league. It's filled with athletes. Every game is a track meet. You're running running, 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 and you come off or stay 90 minutes, you're doing it again in 3 days if you are in a situation like Arsenal. So, so I do think like the perfect tonic, which was this game against Brighton. I actually thought we might lose the game, and I was okay with losing the game because I saw that front four, and I thought, oof, it's too big a gamble. But the youngsters with the uncles and the solid back four with Kepa in goal, who Kepa was my man of the match, I would say. I think he was very crucial in keeping Arsenal in that game in that first half because I think Brighton had the better of the first half. They played better football all around. They were more threatening. They were more penetrative. And Arsenal was not. They were not their normal impenetrable cells in that first half, which makes sense. 10 changes, you're not going to get automatic relationship building for a time, which is why I think it was great that Arteta let the starting 11 go into the first half. As I was watching the game, I was itching. I was like, I should make changes at halftime. But I think he did the right thing, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks and not us fans. He did the right thing to let the boys who started the game find solutions to the problem, and I think they did. I think from 45 minutes, I mean, it started in the first half. As the game was growing and developing, I think Arsenal started to find confidence. And it continued on into the second half, and that was great. Like I don't think the issues were quality of players. I think the issues that we saw in the first half, especially with Arsenal, whether people were being late to assignments defensively, or were making the wrong run, or making the wrong pass. I think it was all due to the fact that we haven't seen that back four play together before. We had not seen that front 3-4 play together before. I think we've had Marino, Ethan, and Norgard in a game together. I think that was preseason. I think we might have seen that trio in midfield. But Eze was bought quite later on in the preseason, and he's having to play a lot of minutes too. By the way, it's going to be interesting to see if he starts against Burnley, because he is the only starter from the weekend, and he's been playing a lot of minutes so he's the only starter from the weekend who started this game and played almost full 90 almost. He stayed on like deep into the second half. So it would be interesting to see. I mean, I'll get to that to the weekend game in a little bit, but it was a good game for Arsenal. You get to rest your overworked starting players as you are hoping to get through another week before you get the help offensively. Madueke is hopefully not too far. That all the reports have been saying, during this international break or just after, Madueke, Havertz come back, maybe Odegaard comes back. So you start getting the help you need in those front positions, because that's where Arsenal are going to struggle. And I hope that it doesn't show up in this next week, because you have 3 away games. And if Arteta is thinking like I'm thinking, I hope that he goes hard in the Burnley game, because it's going to be a Premier League track meet, especially if the game is tight. Stay with those best 11 guys that you played the Crystal Palace game with, unless maybe you want to rest Eze and play Leo in the left and Ethan in the 10, and then it's a timeshare between Eze and Ethan. And then you can do some of these Carabao Cup moves for the game in Prague, and then go hard again at Sunderland, because that's going to be a hard game. Sunderland now looks different. But the Carabao Cup is a it I have mixed emotions about it. I have very mixed emotions about the Carabao Cup. I, like most Arsenal fans, would like to see the club win a trophy, but I also have concerns about scheduling. Like the next game against Crystal Palace, for example, is going to be December 16th, and it looks like for Palace, that game has been scheduled at a time that's horrible because that means Palace are going to have to play almost something like 4 games in 9 days, which I don't think is going to happen. Something is going to have to be moved. I don't know which one is going to be moved because they're playing Man City and then they're playing us, and then they have a Conference League game. So that's going to be a bit of a kerfuffle to kind of work through schedule wise. But at the same time, if they move that game, they're going to move it into probably another space where it's going to be inconvenient for Arsenal, because I think I would rather that it stays where it is, but I don't know if the Premier League are going to budge because I believe the game that Palace have against Manchester City is a TV game for Sky Sports. So I wonder if there's going to be a compromise on the cup side where maybe that gets pushed into January, which is going to be another busy month because the semifinals must be finished in January. Then there's 2 Champions League games in January, and then you're playing Liverpool at the beginning of January, and I think Manchester United as well. So Arsenal are going to have, I don't know, man. I'm a bit torn about this cup. I'm a bit torn about this Carabao Cup. It's, to me, it's like a pimple in your face when you're about to go take your photos for your yearbook in school, or you're about to take your last dance in school, and you have this very old, big old pimple on your face. The Carabao Cup is like that to me at this point in time. I think it's a cup you want to win when you're not competing at the top. But when you are competing at the top, it's a very, very inconvenient situation. I've seen Jurgen Klopp play kids, and I think we might have to do that whenever this Crystal Palace game falls, because I know right now it's scheduled for the 16th of December, but something is going to have to be changed around that time. Either this game is going to have to be played at a different time, or some of the other games are going to be affected. But I think we'll worry about that in a few weeks, because now I think I want to look slightly ahead to Burnley and maybe a little bit at the week leading up to the international break. Because like after this weekend, there's just one more weekend of Premier League football, and then it's November international break. And if we get through this week, Arsenal could be in a really, really, really good position at the top of the Premier League if they win the next 2 games. Now, nothing is decided in November. Nothing is decided in the beginning of November. And if anybody knows any better about this, Arsenal fans do, especially finishing second the last 3 seasons. We know that nothing is won in November. However, there will come a time where Arsenal's wins or set piece goals or some other thing where you're going to have your bad spell. The key thing is right now, in my opinion, while the other teams you are competing for the title with are having their bad spell, don't match their bad spell. Have your good spell when they're having their bad spell. And then when you're having a bad spell later on, it's on them to capitalize on it. Because I don't think we're gonna cruise the league. I'm not naive. I've been watching Premier League football since the early 1990s. I've been an Arsenal fan since 1992. So I don't think the league will be won in October and November, but I do think if Arsenal go to Sunderland and go to Burnley first and then Sunderland and win those 2 games, whilst Manchester City are going to have to play Liverpool, and I think they have tough games coming up this week too, then we're talking something different. Then we come back from the international break. You don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like games after the international breaks are difficult, and Arsenal are playing Tottenham after the international break. That's going to be a hard one because Thomas Frank has made Tottenham a very difficult team to play against now. So it's not going to be a gimme. Tottenham are going to be coming to our place full of confidence too because they've started the season well and they're good at set pieces now, I believe. And it's going to be it's going to be a difficult one. I know Sunderland are one of the informed teams in the league, but if you're Arsenal and you are convinced this is your year to finally win the Premier League after 20 years, 21 years at the end of this season, actually 21 years now. If you think this is your year, then you have to go to Sunderland. I don't care what good form they're in. I don't care that they went to Stamford Bridge and beat Chelsea. I don't care. You have to go to the Stadium of Light, I think it's called, and win. And then you can give Granit Xhaka a hug at the end and, be all lovey-dovey with him and thank him for his time at the club and all the things. You go back to London, go back to international break, and we reunite and we get together for the North London derby at the end of the international break. Hopefully with Havertz back, Odegaard back, Madueke back, and not having lost anybody else. Because that's where I think the big worry is for me. Like I don't think Arsenal right now are showing signs of suffering from the injuries, but I don't think they can stay winning games without Odegaard, without Havertz, without big time players. Like you need your big time players as the season starts peaking. You need your best players available. Like we've been good enough to not miss them, but you can't play 10, 15 more games without missing these players. Like if we are this good, having missed Saka for almost a quarter of the games, having missed Saliba for almost a quarter of the games, having missed Odegaard for almost the entire season, basically, and missed Havertz except for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at Old Trafford. You've missed all of these players. I'm not even talking about Gabriel Jesus because he hasn't even been available since last January. The offensive talent that Arsenal are missing right now, we don't even need all of them back at the same time, but you just need to start regaining these guys because Trossard, Martinelli, Gyökeres, they're having to do a lot of reps in that front line. And Gyökeres and Eze, they are adapting to playing at this level. I know Gyökeres and Eze played good teams, but Eze hasn't had to play 3 games in a week at this intensity because Palace were not in those competitions and they were not competing at the top of the league. Palace is the team when Eze was there. They were playing with house money and they were playing a lot of the time transition football where you can spend a lot of time not being on the ball. But now, like, there's a lot of pressure on Eze, a lot of media pressure, and he's handling it. From all the reports, he's handling it well. But I do think it's hard to have these guys come in and they're immediately in the title race, and then there's pressure to go deep in the Champions League, and then there's Carabao Cup scheduling shenanigans, and then there's going to be FA Cup. So I think it's about time the doctors at Arsenal work their magic and start getting players back because without these players, it's going to be really, really hard to keep this up. It's gone well so far, guys. I'm not upset. I'm not like whining. I'm not unhappy. I'm just projecting. I just spoke about the game. Um, Carabao Cup win, great win. Players needed rest. The players needed rest, got rest. The players who needed minutes, got minutes, and a win. Check. We move. So it's good. It's a good time to be an Arsenal fan. It's been incredible. because without the players we're missing a year ago and before, we're probably sitting 14th or 15th in this competitive Premier League landscape. But we're sitting at the top. So it's incredible credit to the coaching staff, to the players that have been available to carry the team to where it is right now, especially after the fixtures Arsenal have had to start with. That first 6 games where you have City, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Manchester United in your first four of the first 6 games. That, to come through that and be sitting top of the league after 9 games, that's no joke. Like, that's no joke. It's mad, mad, mad respect to the players, to the coaching staff, to the club. But none of us could have predicted this level of injury misfortune, and I'm worried about it. I'm really worried about it because everybody's sitting there and, waiting for something to go wrong. And they're not talking about these injuries because we're winning games. But when we start losing games, it's going to be players getting blamed and all of this stuff, and nobody's going to think about we haven't been able to rotate enough. I'm hearing Arne Slot complain about a squad that's not deep, and he spent more money than anybody else this last summer. So the fact that Arsenal are doing what they're doing, it's incredible. I'm not gonna even front. Like, it's incredible that Arsenal are doing what they're doing with the offensive talent they're missing, hands down. Because listen to the Liverpool coach and talk about how much he's missing such and such a player, and this, that, and the third. Oh, we're integrating so many players. Arsenal are integrating players too. We bought 8 players in the summer. 8. That's more than Liverpool bought. That's more than a lot of teams bought. And they're playing. It's not like, Kasaka had to come off second game of the season, and Noni played immediately after having a short summer. No wonder he's injured. Noni had a short summer because he was at the Club World Cup with Chelsea. Then we bought him. He took a short break, came into preseason, he had to play immediately because Martinelli was having a bit of a, iffy or whatnot start to the season. Had the game at Old Trafford and, all the things, right? Arsenal signings are playing and they're still winning games. No, then people want to complain about fluency, and I get it. Like, you want to have a fluent game of football, but like I said earlier on in this podcast, like, it's 2 teams in a football match, and the other team consistently against Arsenal. Go back and watch the tape, guys. Consistently, they come up and stink up the joint. Like, they say, you break us down, Arsenal. Like Manchester City gave Arsenal the ball. Liverpool, to a certain degree, did the same. They didn't do it to the degree that City did, but to a certain degree, Liverpool did the same. So I guess what I'm saying is, if the injuries stop or pause a little bit, then we can talk about Arsenal being unstoppable, because that's going to be the Achilles heel. It's going to be the injuries. If we can stay healthy, good luck. Good luck to the league. Good luck to Europe. Good luck. I really, really believe that. I believe in this team now. And I'm not going to go nuts if they don't win the big things, because, like, I'm still worried about the injuries. Like, you don't go play and win without your best players being available. No team has done that. Not Man City, not Liverpool. And Arsenal in this season already, 9 games in, we've already missed Bukayo Saka for a chunk of games. We've already missed Saliba for a chunk of games. We've missed Odegaard for almost the whole season, because he's played 2 games over a half of football. All the other games he started and got hurt within the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, jump off. So that's Odegaard. I know a lot of people don't rate Kai Havertz, but there's a lot of us who do. To not have Havertz for for all of the season basically, because he only played in the Man United game. That was the first game of the season. He played that game as a substitute, played like 20, 30 minutes, and that's it. Which has then overburdened Victor Gyökeres because now he's having to carry the number 9 burden at Arsenal without having had a preseason, without having had a good opportunity to really learn his teammates. He's learning on the job in front of us, and yes, it looks ugly, it looks clumsy sometimes, but I'm not jumping on him. I'm going to give him as much of a break as I can give any player, Victor Gyökeres, because he is playing every 3 days. I think most Arsenal fans who watch the team regularly would have not wanted him to be on the field yesterday. They were probably, I didn't even want him to be at the stadium yesterday. I hope he was going to stay at home, get a massage, I don't know, stay with his whoever he lives with, eat some good food, just take the whole day off, bro. Like Arsenal are having to do this the hard way, and everybody, because we're winning, they're not talking about the health issues, but we have some health issues. Anyway, I'm going to stop this one right there. And I really do hope that we can go to Burnley and not lay an egg. I know they're just newly promoted. These newly promoted teams are on one this season. They're all on one. Liverpool had to get a 90-something minute penalty to win at Burnley. So I know they're not going to be easy. Scott Parker is becoming a decent coach. He used to want to have the ball, but he's becoming more adaptable. And so Burnley is not going to be easy, and it's away. So Turf Moor is not the greatest of pitches. I don't know what they're going to do. Don't know if they're going to let the grass grow like Sean Dyche style to try and make it an even game. We have obviously by far the superior field talent on the field, so it should be a game that Arsenal wins. But these games are not won on paper, and these games are not won by showing up. You still have to go and do the business, and that's why I'm happy we rested players yesterday. Up the Arsenal.